Welcome to another episode of The Bastard Sermon. I'm one of your three hosts, Cody Hucker.
Patrick Seta.
And Luke Young.
Today we've got Matt Saincome on from The Hard Times. He's the founder, and he's also got a Hard Times podcast. Give it up, boys.
Woo! Wow, an applause. Thanks, guys.
We'd like to give you a warm welcome.
Every guest earns it. You know what I mean? Like, we got to make sure.
I feel very special.
Yeah, dude, thanks for joining us today. We were all looking forward to this because I think that we're all fans of The Hard Times. Like, it's basically, I mean, I don't see.
It's kind of like The Onion, but for like musicians and like metalheads. It's fucking cool and fucking hilarious.
I was going to say, I don't see The Onion around anymore. I see The Hard Times. None of my friends are sharing The Onion articles. Like, none of my friends. All my friends are sharing The Hard Times articles. Like, everywhere that I go, like, people are like, I don't know how many people are like, this is one of the things that I wanted to ask you about. Do you know how many people actually click on the title and read the actual articles that you guys write? Like, not just read the fucking, like, the headline and then laugh their balls off?
Yeah, so we reach about 60 million people each month through social media. And then the people who click through, that's about 3.5 million.
Okay.
God damn.
Dude, that's fucking crazy.
Pulling numbers, man.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Did you ever... oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Go on.
Yeah, when I first started, I didn't really think anyone would read. But it grew very quickly. And there's a lot of like-minded people out there who have similar experiences. And then I built a big team around it, and they started sharing their experiences. And it kind of just, it's a very organic thing. I started with $800. So, you know.
Starting with $800, how else did it start? Like, what were you doing at the time when you were like, I want to start a satire, article site?
I had a punk scene. And I was interviewing musicians. I've always really liked doing that. And like Ian MacKaye let me interview him, and Lars Ferguson let me interview him.
That's
and
cool.
it was just a print. This was a print zine, and I would put out like 30 copies of it. And but it was also really goofy. And I had like punk points, and I would give and take away punk points for people. Like in show reviews, I would say like my friend Noah did a great stage dive, plus 100 punk points. And in the back cover, it was a list of all my different friends and people in the scene and all their punk points. And I kept track through all the different issues of the zine. And so I went to school, and I had to choose a major. I didn't really want to go to school. My parents wanted me to. And I just thought journalism, maybe I did like interviewing people. And so then I went to journalism school, and I learned how to write news articles. And I just thought maybe I should combine punk comedy with news article writing now that I have all these multiple skills. And I should just make this a section in my zine. That was actually the original idea for The Hard Times, was it was just going to be a section in my zine. But it ended up becoming something much more.
That's awesome.
How long did it take before it started getting steam? Like, how long were you doing? Like, what year would you say you started that? And like, how long would it take before like you saw a lot of traffic on there?
Yeah, so it was interesting. So I actually came up with the idea probably around 2012, I would think. And I told some of my friends about it, and I wrote some of the articles just like on like Word, and I showed them to people, and they said, this is a really bad idea. You're going to get beat up. No one's going to read this thing. And
wait.
really,
they told you that you were going to get beat up for writing some silly shit?
And did you?
Well, I came from the Bay Area punk scene, and I wasn't exactly the most popular guy in the Bay Area punk scene. So there was like some violence around in that time where people didn't. I was telling other jokes. People didn't like my zine. Yeah, I'm just a loudmouth, so there is like some element of like threat of violence. But I was busy. I had a job. I was going to school, so I decided to kind of like put it off for a couple of years, and then 2 years later, I had graduated from college, and I was trying to be a journalist, but I didn't have a full-time job yet. So I was a freelance journalist, and I was writing for like, I think Noisy and Vice and maybe Rolling Stone. I'm not sure if I'd started Rolling Stone yet, but I wasn't getting enough work. So I was just like losing money, and I couldn't pay my bills. And I only had a little bit left. I had like $800 left. And I thought, I always had this old idea, like, fuck it, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to try to create this thing. And so I found my friend Bill Conway. He co-founded the website with me. And we worked on it in secret for maybe 2 months. And we launched it in late 2014. And it became popular almost immediately. Just really caught on. It's actually interesting. I'm not 100% sure if it would do that today. I feel like the way that social media was set up back then was a little bit more like democratic and even, if that makes sense. Like if you had a really good piece of content, they would show it to everyone. now everything's a little bit more choked. It's a little bit more like the organic reach has really declined.
It used to be that it was all listed in chronological order. Just whenever you posted it, the shit would appear. And now it's like, hey, man, send us a little cheddar and we might decide to put this in your friends' feeds and stuff like that.
Yeah, so it's really hard to break through the noise nowadays. But back then, our content was good enough. It still wasn't our best. We've gotten better throughout the years, but people enjoyed our content enough where we would put out a single joke, and if it was a good joke, 1 million people would see it on Facebook that day, just because 3,000 punks would share it, and they all had 500 Facebook friends or whatever, and just kept on kind of multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. So that's how it all started.
It's interesting to me that you came out of a punk scene and you actually did something of substance, because a lot of the punk kids in our scene in Cincinnati are just out there smoking crack, trying not to shoot dope. Like, it's been 3 days since I shot dope. I mean, my dog's still on it, but like, it just fucking like living poor and drinking fucking hard every single day. And you're out here like making a zine, like turning that zine into a fucking like full-time comedy project with somebody investing money into it and shit like that. The only thing that I know that punks invest money into is $3 cheeseburgers from McDonald's and fucking new gear for their fucking like heroin. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I know a lot of punk kids and I've hung out with them. I'm a big fan of some of them, but they're fucking maniacs, a lot of them. And you've turned this into like a whole business model. When does it go from goofy, fun idea with your friend to like, this is going to be a business. This is going to be some real shit. Like when you got the wheels spinning, or like when you got...
Yeah, so that's interesting, the thing that you said. So it's funny, the thing that you said, but I also don't 100% always line up with that notion, because I think a lot of people look at things that are successful and they think that there's always merit behind it. And I'm not 100% sure that that's the case. I know that I personally, I did grow up in the punk scene. I was into punk music when I was 12 years old and stuff. But I also had a dad who worked every day, and he wasn't going, and a mom who was working, and they weren't going to let me starve to death. I had a stability in my life that not everyone is lucky enough to have. And so even when I say stuff like, oh, I took my last $800 and I put it into starting this thing, I had a safety net. Whereas I wasn't going to become homeless. My parents would let me move in with them if I completely collapsed. And I do feel like that notion is missing from a lot of people's stories of when they've created something. There is a certain level of just like, look, I was born into a lucky like class of people where my family was stuck together and wanted to support me. So yeah, I will say that. What was the other element of your question?
Just talking about basically you.
When did it go from a joke to you taking it seriously?
Like as a business. Yeah, it's a business model.
Yeah. I went full time at Hard Times. I think 2 years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago.
That's when you dropped your day job and started doing it full time.
Yeah, so we launched like 4.5 years ago, and I probably went full time 2 years ago. I think maybe 3 years. I'm not 100% sure.
That's incredible.
I got a full-time job as the music editor of SF Weekly. I was really lucky to get that job. And I worked with this editor who was really knowledgeable. His name was Mark Kemp, and he was used to be an editor at Rolling Stone, and he would like go through all my music journalism line by line and help me out. He was like a great mentor in that way. But the actual SF Weekly was a really rough job, and Hard Times kept getting more and more popular to the point where it seemed like we might be able to stand on our own 2 feet selling ads. And I decided to kind of say, I looked at my life. And again, this is like a little bit an element of that privilege shit I was talking about, where you're saying like, look, I have this whole support network where if I really failed, I was able to leave my job. I had a steady employment, and I was able to say, I'm going to go try something risky again. So that's kind of like, that's like lucky kid shit. Anyways.
I'm curious. Sorry, go ahead.
So we decided to take off and do our own thing around that time. And it actually was really rough for a little while. Some of the things I thought were going to work out didn't. I had to like eat some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for like, breakfast, lunch, and dinner sort of shit to try to save money. But we ended up making it work out. Hell
yeah, man. I'm glad that it did, because I fucking laughed my balls off. Like I I'm probably one of the 60 million. I forget the exact number you quoted. 60 million reading the actual headlines, and like 3 million actually reading the whole articles, getting like traffic on the website and stuff like that. I'm definitely in the 60 million of just like reading the names of the titles and stuff like that for our listeners that might not be familiar. And I can't imagine that you're on this podcast like listening to the Bastard Sermon, listening to this episode not familiar. But if you aren't familiar, I'm gonna pull up if you don't mind, Matt, I'm gonna pull up a couple examples of some of these articles.
Go for it, man.
Just read some of them, because like
I'm happy that you're part of the 60 million.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
Same.
And I have read a couple of the articles. They, not to say don't click on the article and read it. It definitely take the time to click on it, go to their website and support them and their writers and read the shit. It's fucking hilarious the whole way through. But all the headlines always get me. And I just imagine dudes smoking fat bong rips and just like laughing their nuts off in the middle of an office and just like telling their stupid friend in the
what office
whatever
you go to where they can take bong rips
out back, dude. You got to go out by the dumpster. I mean, you're the founders, so they don't tell you where they take the good bong rips. You know what I mean? They're hitting vape pens and shit in the bathroom, blowing it through the bottom. But I just imagine like that type of, maybe I'm wrong, but that type of environment and them coming up with the funniest, goofiest shit. But here's a couple examples for our listeners and stuff that might not be like as familiar. GameStop pre-orders bankruptcy. Like shit like that just like fuck GameStop. Everybody knows GameStop sucks. Like that place is just a fucking dreg for video game players. Like it just makes you laugh immediately if you know anything about it. There's another one. Facebook tells shooter he could reach more people if he boost posts for $50, and then the picture is that fucking $50 post boost thing.
Yeah,
one
people we're a little bit upset with that one, but I thought it was a fun point. I
thought it was gold.
It's fucking hilarious.
It's fucking hilarious. One that I love. Punk Dad can still hang. Maybe next Friday between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m. or potentially 2 Saturdays from now, but only during the day. Like, I know so many older dudes that are in that scene of, like, punk rockers and stuff like that related that heavily. Like, one of our sponsors that comes on. I sent him that. He was like, dude, this is fucking me to a T, like, between work and everything. Like, it's just super relatable content that people that are, like, from whatever your alternative scene is.
It's as if you took, like, a comedian's bit and turned it into a newspaper article. It's a keen observation into, like, a small norm in a certain clique or avenue that's not really observed until it's put in your face. But I think that's why the article titles are such fucking... they catch your eye immediately. It's not like a big colorful sign you need. It's just the article title. You catch it, and you're hooked. It's fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm glad you like it. I think one of the main things that we're trying to do was, there's a lot of other comedic outlets out there, but there weren't too many that were from the point of view of people who were going to shows all the time, who played in bands, who were going on tour, and printing up their own T-shirts and trying to make their own records and stuff like that. Guys like me, there wasn't an outlet like that. So I found some people who wanted to help me out with it, and now we exist. And I also was like, when I grew up, I was super into gaming. And so when Hard Times started getting really popular, I started thinking maybe we could do this for gaming. And so about a year and a half ago, we launched Hard Drive, which is like our gaming section. And that's been doing really, really well, too. We've actually launched a couple things.
I never knew about that.
I'm checking out Hard Drive immediately.
Subscribing.
Yeah. So it's on Twitter. Just type in Hard Drive, you'll find it. But it's on our website, too. If you go to hardtimes.net and then thehardtimes.net, and then you look on the left-hand side, there's like it says like video games or something like that, and there's like a whole section. It's actually headed up by this comedian, Jeremy Kaplowitz from New York City. He is a really funny guy. He's got a great team behind him too, but they're really cranking out some hits over there. And that was like the two things I grew up doing, was like going to punk shows, playing in bands. I played drums, and then like I played video games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the fact that now, and I goofed off all the time. So the fact that now I get to run a punk and video game comedy website as a job is a real thrill.
It's the dream, dude.
That's where we're trying to get, man, someday.
Yeah. His dick wakes up fully hard every single morning. Like,
Pisses
shit.
excellence.
Like, just like every single time. Just pissing diamonds and excellence. I'd be super stoked if I was in that position creatively, to just be able to do like goofy shit as a living. And
wake up and not have another panic. Like, what? Oh, man, what do I need to do today? Oh, whatever I want to do for my company.
Okay.
It's more complicated than that, you fucking idiot. He's not living in a goddamn mansion. What are you talking about? He just gets to do what he wants and live like he can live a decent life. Where are you at right now? California? What part of?
The one thing that I learned that was a little bit of a rough bump to fall on was when I went full time. I thought I was going to be able just to like make jokes for a living, and what I found out was you can make those jokes and you can get 60 million people reading them, but you have to build a business around it. And so I had to learn a lot of things that I wasn't actually that interested in that now I know a lot about the ad business and like social media business and how to monetize all that stuff. And so I actually ended up spending a really decent chunk of time learning about fucking programmatic banners and CPMs and stuff like that to figure out how to keep the lights on.
Is that where the entirety of your sorry, go ahead.
It's kind of like there's the idea of how cool it is to work at the hard times. It like doesn't quite exist, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like I still have to do a whole lot of bullshit. I got to like file reports for our advertisers and show them how effective we are. The good news is that if you are like a music festival or a record label or like an amplifier company, we're about to work with Orange amplifiers.
That's awesome.
We have a really good cheap price. It's better than just advertising on Facebook. So the good news is that even though this stuff is kind of annoying to do, like we actually do have a cool product to sell people. So that's like, it's not too much of a pain in the ass. But I don't get to just make jokes all the time.
Is the entirety of your revenue actually derived from mostly advertisements? Like, is that how this stuff stays afloat? Is just like the traffic that goes through there is all like the advertisements is how you're getting paid, or?
Yeah, I mean, so it used to be that, but the publishing business is changing super rapidly to the point where you can't quite rely on that all the way. So we had to mix it up a bit. So we're putting out a book later this year. And that's through, I believe the imprint is called Mariner Press, but it's through HMH, which is like a big publishing company. So they gave us a chunk of money to make a book. We do live events. We sell merchandise. We have Patreon that lets people like be parts of the article. Like they can be the person in the article, like the photo, or get their name in an article or their band name in an article. And so what we've done is we took our ad thing and we spread it out. And now we get money from a whole different place, a whole bunch of different places. And hopefully we patch it together and we're able to keep the lights on.
Plus you've got the podcast now to advertise all that and then some. Also do dope-ass interviews with people.
The podcast has been a lot of fun.
Have you talked to any of your active sponsors or whoever backs you into transferring with you over into the podcast?
Yeah, and a lot of them did.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, we were really lucky about that. We were able to sell ads for our podcast before we even recorded an episode.
That's the ideal way to do it, dude. You just walk out there and start getting paid immediately for doing something that's just fun. Like podcasts, if you're like, I can tell you like to talk a lot, like just like to keep going. If you're that type of dude, a podcast is the perfect fucking outlet for you. Like you just get to drain all that out, and then it's not just lost into the ether in some weird drunken bar conversation. No, it's recorded. I have an episode that I recorded, like you said earlier. You've got a Fred Armisen episode. You've got this guy's on, this famous person, even. Our shitty podcast is on, whatever. It's still like you have this decent like recorded conversation with all these people that gets to live on for forever. It's just like an article, like one of those articles, or like anything that you're doing creatively, except that I don't know. It's a good way to just monetize you bullshitting.
All right, don't tell my friend this, but there's a piece of me where regardless of the people who come on our podcast, who I'm very excited about, I talk to Bill, my co-founder, almost every day for the last 4 years, and we talk like audibly instead of through text messaging, like once a week for editorial meetings the entire time the Hard Times has been around. And actually a little piece of me, this podcast is kind of cool because it's kind of like we're documenting our friendship. And I know that's like a little pessimistic, but like I do wonder how long will we be friends? Like it feels like we'll be friends for a long time, but the podcast is nice because I did create this thing with this guy who I didn't know all that well before that. And we've been through a lot together as we've been growing. So it'd be kind of nice, like maybe in like 20 years, I'll be able to look back and say, oh, this is me working with my creative partner to do something that we believed in. We're starting like a podcast network. We're trying to get more Hard Times contributors on there. It's been slow going because honestly, like I'm just getting into the whole world and I'm not super familiar with it. but yeah, it's been fun. We like the Hard Drive has their own show where they like watch Mario. They're like kind of like upset, like in this funny like, you know, friendly competitive way, but they're like, dude, we're trying to just like watch Mario every week, and you guys have like celebrities on. Like, how can we compete with that? That's really annoying. But yeah.
It's just the newest way to monetize creativity, and like to not just monetize it, to, like you were saying before, immortalize yourself for forever.
Well,
I think human beings are trying to do everything that they can to stay alive because you know your life is finite. Like, you're not gonna have that much time on this earth, and like everyone kind of has something where they're like, I want some part of my being to live on for forever. And you have these recorded conversations. Like, I do art, I play music, I record that music. Like, whatever your thing is, you're trying to do that so you can keep passing it on and stuff like that.
That's kind of like part of the thrill of putting out a record. You'll always be, in my bands at least, in the discount bin for $1, but you'll always be somewhere. You know what I mean? Like in a record collection somewhere. I've always liked that thrill of making something from nothing. You know, you start with a blank slate, and then eventually you have something that lives on.
Yeah, it has a lot of sentimental value to it. Once you later on when you're looking at this shit and you're listening to all these conversations that you've had with these people you've never thought you would ever talk to or meet ever, and you experience a bit of their lives, you make a friend for the rest of your life. And then like, let's say like you said, 20 years from now, let's say that person passes or some, God forbid, you have something to look back on, a full conversation you can remember with this person. It's just, I think podcasts are the way of the future when it comes to media.
Yeah, I think so too. Huge. That's why everyone's getting into them. Like Conan O'Brien, Will Ferrell has one now, like the Ron Burgundy podcast. Have you guys?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's hilarious. He plays Ron Burgundy the whole time.
Yeah, it's good.
Hilarious.
There's a lot.
Conan O'Brien's is really funny too. I'm a huge Conan fan.
I like Conan a lot. He used to be a really good writer and then turned into a phenomenal like showrunner, and then
he's really funny.
He's killing it all the time. It's one of the few like late night shows you can actually sit down and watch and like laugh your balls off. Like, he gets Bill Burr on there and just lets Burr do his thing, like completely. I mean, even within like the fucking late night TV circuit, they've got to censor some shit, but he's kind of just like fuck it and just lets him do his thing.
He also, I mean, he really is getting into like everything. He's also doing like, what is it, the illiterate gamer or whatever it's called, or something. He's playing like video games and he's like just talking shit.
Man.
I used to watch those. Fucking
and
funny.
That's like a great way to like they get a video game sponsors that way. So whoever came up with that one deserves a raise. I actually have a friend who's on the team. He's on Team Coco. His name is John Danick, and he writes for Hard Times. He's on like their tech team over there, but he's on our comedy team on our side. And he came up with a great headline. You guys, one of you said you listen to Joe Rogan, something like. Doomsday Clock strikes 2 minutes closer to Louis C.K. coming on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah, it's got to happen eventually. I mean, everything's kind of simmered down to a point to where everybody's basically not even really forgiving C.K., just kind of talking about like, what did he do? Consensually beat off in front of a couple women? What did he? They all said yes, and then later they were like, he had power over me. Like, because originally, I know this is like controversial shit. I don't know how. Well, you're the fucking founder of Hard Times. You could talk about some shit like this. It's all right. You don't have to offer any opinions. If I slip up, I slip up. All right.
No, I'll talk about anything you want, man. Let's do it.
Righteous,
what do I
brother.
think about Louis C.K.?
I mean,
let me tell you.
I wasn't there. I don't know what the situation was, but even
it wasn't all consensual though, right? Because wasn't some of it like it was someone on the phone as well that like they didn't know. And that he was breathing all heavy, and then later it came out that he was jerking off.
I mean, I don't know. If he's a creep and he's beating off on the phone, I don't think that's a crime.
I feel like.
I mean, you're just a weirdo. I just don't think it's a crime. Yeah. I don't know. Like, we're just.
It's weird. It's not illegal.
I'm pretty. I don't know.
You're just a fucking creep.
You're just a creep. Like, I don't know. Like, you're beating off on the phone. Like, you're not hurting anybody. And the women that he beat off in front of, I think a lot of people got it misconstrued about. I wasn't there. I don't know. Just from what I read, from actually reading the victims' accounts, none of them were complaining that he was like locking doors and telling them like, "Oh no." Like, none of them said no. They were all like, "I said yes, but I only said yes because he was my boss, and I felt like I had to say yes." And it's like, you can still say,
fucked up.
I don't know. I don't know about the power dynamic,
happens.
but I still am kind of just like, you you still could have just said no. Maybe I'm wrong, but my whole point for all this controversy is like, I think now it's simmered down to a point to where once everybody starts reading the actual articles and realize that he's not being like a straight up like rape, like a Harvey Weinstein level rapist, like just a fucking insane person. I think it's getting to a point to where he can finally start doing shows again and tours again, clubs again, and fucking, like you said, the doomsday clock is counting down 2 minutes until Louis C.K. comes on the Joe Rogan podcast and shit like that.
I definitely think that there's shades to these things, right? Louis C.K. I think is pretty. The argument that I heard that maybe think about how fucked up it was is that like these other comics, this is like their job. So although maybe it's an alternative workplace, it still is like kind of their workplace. Like if you're at a comedy festival, so it's kind of like, let's say you're working, like I used to work room service. It'd be like if my boss started jerking off in front of me, it's like, you really shouldn't be doing that. That's like, so they're like coworkers. So even if, I didn't say no, it's still someone who gets to decide my fate a little bit. You know what I mean? So like, but anyways, you want to talk about some controversial podcast shit, man? Let's talk about it.
Let's do it.
Aziz Ansari.
Yeah.
I mean, what, he got two blowjobs from a girl that didn't like him that much, and he had a bad date, and now he's a rapist. Like, I don't like. That's where Me Too starts slipping, because I'm like, I support your movement. Like, call out rapists and like people that couldn't get fucking like this. The people that you can't bring to court because they've got too much money, like, but they really did do some fucked up shit. I'm down. If you're fucking, from all the accounts and like that audio recording of Harvey Weinstein, that dude is a savage animal that needs to be locked in a prison. But like sometimes they start slipping into this weird fucking like, let me go to Aziz Ansari, who went on a weird date, got 3 blowjobs in a night, and then she decided later that she didn't like it. Like, hold on a minute. What do you mean? Like, oh, he raped me because I didn't want it, but I didn't tell him that I didn't want it, and I fucking take it all back now, and it was a bad date. Like, I don't know. It just seems like.
Well, there was also that woman that she's going to jail for like getting some false accusations. Have you heard about that shit of that lady? She like got like 12 people in jail. One of them was in jail for 7 years and was eventually taken out because they realized like what the fuck happened. But she was like caught lying and shit.
Matt,
it's kind of fucked up.
Where were you going with your Aziz Ansari thing? Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted the fuck out of you.
No, dude, come on, man. Talk about whatever you want. In Aziz Ansari, I always felt like that one. I'm a journalist, and so the fact that it was published on like babe.net because no one else would touch it spoke a lot to me. It mattered to me, and then the fact that it was written like a first-person account instead of a news article also meant a lot to me.
It sounds like a blog post and not a journalistic narrative. Like you're not writing something that's from an unbiased like point of view. You're writing something that has it's a hit piece. So
it sounds like it sounded like something that happened that was negative, that someone didn't have a good time, which is always bad and wrong. But it didn't sound like something. A little piece of me when I first read that thing, Louis C.K., I'm like, yeah, he should be punished for that. That's my personal opinion. In Aziz Ansari, when I read that one, it almost seemed like something that could have been resolved between the two people if there was truly a miscommunication. Just like, that seems like something that you could find that person and apologize to them if you misread the signals. Now, I don't know. I mean, that was the whole thing. I felt like there was this whole argument of like whether or not you could read the the not spoken no, you know what I mean? And I actually think that you can. Like, if you're trying to hook up with someone and you can tell that they're uncomfortable, I think that that's something that you should be able to read. You can tell when someone's not into it. So if you like ignore that repeatedly,
absolutely.
I guess that,
Absolutely. Yeah. So just to drift that same narrative back to the Louis C.K. conversation, Rogan, now again, this is third-hand information, second-hand information. Rogan was talking about on a recent podcast with Lenny Clark and one of the owners of Governor's Comedy Club over there in New York, the one that recently featured that bootleg that got leaked from Louis C.K. They were talking amongst each other about that Louis C.K. situation, and Rogan was like, he's actually talking to me, again, it's Rogan's perspective. I don't know how true it is. I mean, all this could be complete bullshit. Take everything that I say here with a grain of salt, listeners. Anyways, Rogan was saying, I've talked to Louis C.K. directly about the situation. He was like, a lot of these women, I don't know about all of them, but a lot of these women that are coming forward there's text messages back and forth of them talking dirty to each other. Like, it's not just like I want to suck my dick, like at work sort of situation. Like, they're talking to each other and like flirting with each other, according to Rogan. Allegedly, what do I got to say here? You're from a journalistic background, so that I don't get sued. What's the right word choice so I don't get sued here? But that's
allegedly is always a good one.
Allegedly, there was a bunch of text messages back and forth, according to Rogan, from his conversations with Louis C.K. Third-hand information. But that made me kind of just rethink the situation, because I'm like, I don't know. It just seems like you're doing a character assassination on somebody that did something that seems like it was consensual, but after the fact is not, because he was in a position of power. And how does that make it not consensual? It's a layered subject. It's like an onion that I feel like it needs to be peeled more. I don't really have a hard this way or that way, and I'm playing devil's advocate a lot here. But
I mean, the one thing that you could always just go on is that I kind of use as a guiding principle is just not that my opinion of it really matters that much, but if someone left the situation feeling violated, that's a pretty good indication that something was off, right? Normally when two people hook up or someone's jerking off and someone else is in the room, if it truly is consensual, no one should be feeling violated, right? So if someone's saying, hey, man, that was fucked up, then that's usually a pretty good indication that something was fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah, which is normal.
So anyways, guys, I'm going to start jerking off right now.
Dude, I would love that if you could just pull your cock out right now and start beating off in front of us. I mean, this is 100% consensual, but in 10 years from now, when you start making the big bucks, I am going to have to start making some phone calls and Twitter or some tweets. You know what I'm saying? All right, let me go. Let's jump all this real red flag shit and go back to the hard times just a little bit. Kind of turn this ship around and whatnot. Like, none of us were here for any of this conversation. We're all just talking out of our dicks.
No, you're just dick riding CK a little bit.
I love Louis C.K., but if he was a piece of shit, then he's a piece of shit. Fuck that guy. I mean, I love Harvey Weinstein's movies that he produced, but fuck that guy. I mean, there's enough evidence there where I'm like, fuck that dude. Bill Cosby, grew up watching him. Fuck that guy. That dude is a rapist. Fuck that guy. He's been convicted of it. Like, he's a piece of shit. If Louis C.K. is a piece of shit, he's a piece of shit. I'm not dick riding anybody just because I think they're funny. Like,
You're dick riding. You're dick riding.
Well, Rogan said that. Louis said that. This girl said that.
He said. She said.
Consensual dick riding, guys. Lay off.
Nah, but to turn this back around to the hard times, I just remembered a question that I wanted to ask you. As far as you were talking about having to do this, that, and the third for the hard times, and it's not as much of a cakewalk as Psycho Luke over here thought that it was. But
yeah, it sounds like you're fucking busy. It doesn't sound like a luxury that Luke's making it up to be.
But what I was gonna ask him is, how much of the creative process are you now involved with? Are you just all business and like fucking hiring people and firing people and figuring out how the business is running and the right advertisers and doing of course the podcast is fun, but how much of the like creative shit that the average person that's seeing like article headlines and stuff like that is you at this point?
So it's a really big team, so I never want to take any sort of overdue credit. I am in all the editorial meetings. So that means up until recently I was approving each headline that goes out. And I'm also editor-in-chief, so I'm steering the ship and trying to choose topics that our writers should work on and such. The real Hard Times voice is a combination, at least originally, is like a combination of Bill Conway and I. That's like kind of where the root of Hard Times comes from. I ended up doing a lot of business stuff, but I am still very much involved in any big picture creative stuff. There's a very good chance that you might read an article that I didn't read, that one of our editors wrote or read or edited, and they'll be credited, so you can find out exactly who those people are. So article goes out, you can read whoever wrote that. I was in the meeting where we decided to run it, but I wasn't likely the guy who was editing each word. I'm still very involved. But I'm not like the fucking end all be all of anything.
With the current climate of how everything's going politically and like as far as like political correctness goes and stuff like that, do you feel like a very significant change in how you guys or how you approve articles or how you have your team approve articles going from like 2014 when you started this all the way up until present? Because things have changed a lot in those 5 years, I feel like.
Yeah, how do you deal with social justice warriors and all that shit?
Yeah. It's interesting. When it comes to comedy, there's certainly a fine line where if you go over one side or the other, people will be upset. I think that people hear a lot about the social justice warrior side, but the truth is, if you go over on the other side, you get just as much backlash. So left and right can both be very upset based on what you write. And the main thing that I try to do is I try to think of, is this truthful? Is the subtext truthful, regardless of whose feelings it would hurt? And I try to use that as a guiding principle. Another guiding principle that we have is to try to make sure that we are usually punching up, meaning that we're criticizing someone who can handle it or someone who deserves it. But a friend of mine said something that I really enjoy, which is that sometimes punks just throw punches to throw punches. And I do think that there is a little bit of recklessness at the hard times, which I kind of enjoy a little bit. And sometimes we swat the bee's nest just for fun. And that's always been a little piece of my personality, a little bit of a troublemaker.
I love it as long as it goes both ways and as long as it's funny. I mean, not even necessarily the both ways part. My whole thing is always, as long as it's fucking funny, say whatever. As long as you're just trying to be funny and you're not trying to like actually hurt somebody's feelings or something like that. I don't care what your point of view is. If I disagree with you politically, if I disagree with you morally, whatever it is, as long as it's fucking funny. Like, and I don't know, I get the punching up thing, but like sometimes punching down's fucking hilarious. Like sometimes, I mean, it's bad. It's like you shouldn't be laughing at it, but we're all laughing at it because we know it's wrong. And I think everybody, including the person telling the joke, knows that most of the time. Sorry, go ahead.
It's a complicated. It matters on the specifics of each joke is how we have to do it. It's hard to talk about generally speaking. Kyle Conan is a really talented comic, and he said something about this once that I kind of believe in, which is he said something like comics who are only just telling the truth are usually wrong, which is kind of like, a lot of people who from time to time throw punches that some people would consider are being thrown down. They say, oh, it's just the truth, but those truths are usually actually just kind of like stereotypes or kind of things that aren't really based in reality, just kind of more based in biases than anything. But if you're like a true dyed-in-the-wool hardcore social activist, I think that there's stuff at hard times that you can enjoy, but there's also going to be stuff that directly makes fun of you. So we have kind of split the crowds a bit. Like, for example, like we have an article. This one was written by, I believe, Hannah Michaels, male feminist definitely hiding something. That was something that we wrote because we just kept noticing that all like the guys in the scene who presented them to be these great allies, presented themselves to be these wonderful allies, were always the ones.
It's usually the shitty ones. Out. It's usually the nice guys,
I actually wrote a sketch about that called Ally Weekly. You can look that up on Hard Times, and it's I'm actually in that sketch, which is weird, but it's a whole bunch of, it's a magazine full of people who all believe themselves to be these great allies, but they're actually very retrograde. But yeah, I noticed that trend a lot. So we criticize both sides, but I think you should, a good day, you're getting called like a feminazi and a Nazi on the same day. So
yeah, as long as you're going in both directions. I mean, I've never been very political in either direction. I mean, just very like, I don't know, like I try to be like in the middle about a lot of things. Like I believe in guns. I also believe in like be whoever you want to be, as far as like you want to be transgender, you want to get gay married to your dog. I don't give a fuck what you want to do, as long as you're happy and you're not hurting anybody else. Like do whatever you want. I don't care. Like, but
you believe in guns, like as if there's a chance that someone doesn't think
he believes in the almighty gun.
Well, I mean,
the gun that created all.
We're in an open carry state, and there's no fucking gun violence here. So I'm just like, I mean, there is gun violence, but it's not like.
I was about to say you're dead wrong in that.
There's gun violence. I'm not saying gun violence. I'm just saying like mass shootings and stuff like that.
We just had a dude go into the Fifth Third building and shoot 7 people.
They shot
downtown.
They shot 2 people.
Cody.
And this was 3 years ago. What are you talking about? All right,
yeah, fella. He just went in there to shoot one person.
My point is, there's not, when you think of, Ohio, you're not like, oh, fuck, the mass shooting capital of the
fucking
world.
Dumb.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
No,
So
I had a question.
I don't think any one of you guys are dumb.
There was a writer. There's a writer. I was trying to look up his name. I couldn't remember it. He was on Rogan for it. He was kind of doing the same thing you guys were. He was
Adolf
up your
Hitler.
satire alley, where he would write satire articles like an amount of rape and assaults in dog parks on male dogs.
Oh yeah.
He's now getting in trouble for that.
I was just about to say he was the most prolific dog assault and rapist of all time.
Now, if you would shut your fucking fat face and let me finish my goddamn sentence, Cody. Now, I wanted to know if you ever come across any idiots that have taken your guys' articles seriously and try to give you guys.
Of course, he has. Let me just answer for him. Yes, there's dumb people on the internet. What are you asking?
I heard about that. The guy. It was a group of scholars who got together and tried to expose bias in their own institutions by pitching things that just people wanted to hear that were clearly nonsense.
Yeah.
That was a really interesting project. I think those people should be very proud of themselves. It's a fun idea. They're getting in a bunch of trouble now.
A lot.
We get a lot of those people, man. There's a certain percentage, no matter what. Like I said, 60 million or whatever. Like 0.001% of that is still like a shit ton of people. They all leave comments, right?
Yeah.
So no matter our satire isn't meant to trick you. It's meant to be a joke that you can understand and recognize.
Yeah.
But for some reason, every once in a while, something just snaps and people just. Sometimes it's like because a different community has been activated that doesn't normally read hard times. Like we did one that was like surviving R. Kelly renewed for 12 more seasons or something.
Wow.
And it went crazy viral on Twitter, and all these people who are like fans of R. Kelly, we don't usually cover like R&B or rap or whatever. They were saying like, oh my God, like how could they extend it for this long? Like someone stop this guy, like all this sort of stuff. And I thought that was really fun. That was a really well-read article for that reason.
Now, on the same topic, just tell us how you got gonorrhea for the first time, Matt. I'm curious.
Yeah. So before we started taping this, you guys said like something like, what can we talk about? I said anything. And I, for some reason, told you guys about how I got gonorrhea. Okay, I don't know 100% if I got gonorrhea. I know that I got something. And I was playing video games. And I was with my friend.
God.
Wait, you got this from Xbox Live?
You don't know what you got.
You were putting your dick in your sex box.
So you still might have it.
Okay. I had unprotected sex with someone.
Oh, Lord, no. Come on now.
Yeah.
Aren't you a Christian? We couldn't have you on the bastard sermon if you're not. Keep going.
I had unprotected sex. And then like 2 or maybe like a week later, I wasn't feeling well, and my neck was kind of stiff, and I was like, what's going on with my neck? I was playing video games with my friends. I was like, dude, my neck's like, like all fucked up. Like I think I had a sore throat, a stiff neck. I had all these like kind of like scary signs.
How'd you get this? I'm just kidding. Go on. Sorry. Go on.
And then so I went to the bathroom and I peed, and it like stung a little bit. It wasn't like intense, but it stung. And I went back onto Discord where I was playing games with my friends. I'm like, guys, like I just went pee and it stung, and my neck is sore, and I got a sore throat. And I had hooked up with someone like off of Tinder or something. This is like when I was crazy single. I'm not single anymore. And they were like, dude, you gotta make an appointment. So I actually just left and went to the like non-emergency urgent care room like right away. And they checked me out and they told me that I had something, but they weren't sure what it was. They tested me for gonorrhea and syphilis or something, but I didn't have those.
Jesus.
But they were like, those are just like one type of like thousands of things that you can get that like don't really have names or something. So they gave me a shot of antibiotics in the butt, and I felt really good.
Oh, dude.
And I was cured.
I personally haven't had any like STDs as far as I know. I don't go to the doctor, but I mean nothing's itching or bleeding, so I'm good.
Can't catch them if you don't get
one of my friends.
Get looked at, Cody.
No, one of my friends did have an STD recently. It was a very similar story. Like, we were out at a bar drinking for a while, and everybody's gonna remain nameless. Don't worry, you Patrick Seta. Don't worry.
Okay.
So, but we were at this bar drinking and whatnot, and it was drag night at the bar, and they were doing a whole drag show and whatnot. We're all having drinks, watching the drag artist. One of my friends, it's not Patrick Seta. It wasn't him. It wasn't, listeners. But we were all at the bar, and one of the drag artists were doing like cartwheels and doing the thing where they walk around and everybody gives them money. They're holding out dollar bills, and they put dollar bills in their shirt and stuff like that. And then they came up to my friend. They're like riding my friend for a second, like hanging out with them. And the next thing you know, they're in the bathroom for 40 minutes. Like, wonder what he and they are doing together. And then fucking 3 days later, I'm at work because I work with this friend at this time, and he comes into the well, I shouldn't even say where. He goes into an area with me, and it's like, hey man, I know that you're not gonna judge me because you don't give a fuck, but I'm getting a little itchy and drippy downstairs. You think you could took me to the urgent care tomorrow? Like, dude, I got you, because dude had just like lost his ability to drive and stuff like that. So I took him out, and he was telling me the same thing. Like, took him to urgent care, took way too fucking long, got his little fucking shot, and was just instantly better. But the funniest part about it was, I think it was gonorrhea. It might have been, pretty sure it was gonorrhea. The funniest part was, they give him a shot in his ass, they give him medication, we go to pick it up and we leave, and then he reads the fucking like description on the medication, and it's like, may cause explosive diarrhea for up to 4 weeks after taking this medication. You look in the bottle, there's one pill, and he's like, this one pill can give me explosive diarrhea for fucking 3 weeks. I was like, it's either that or just have gonorrhea forever. Like, up to you, bud. He's like, I think I'm gonna take the diarrhea. But yeah,
dude, that shot in the butt feels so good. Like, I was like,
what, like in your anus?
No, they just like right in the butt cheek.
Just like a butt cheek.
You pull down your pants, they give you a shot in the butt, and it's like a intense antibiotic. And I was walking out of the hospital, and I was like, just like kind of like lightening my feet, like, just, I'm feeling good, like, this is great. And so I looked it up later, and I guess
pure methamphetamine right in your butthole.
Shots of antibiotics feel so good that when they first got invented, people got addicted to them.
Really?
Yeah,
ass shots.
Like, it makes you feel like super good if you take antibiotics intravenously, I guess.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, if you do a drug up your ass or something, it's like way more potent. Why wouldn't fucking regular antibiotics going in your ass?
Your fucking logic is foolproof.
It's in the butt cheek, right?
Yeah,
I'll remember that the next time I'm out at the club and I start tying a vein off, just like really tying it off, and somebody catches me in the bathroom. No, don't worry. This is penicillin. This is just good old-fashioned penicillin going into my veins right now. It feels amazing. You want to try this dirty needle full of penicillin? You could.
I felt lucky that I got something that was so easily cured. Because there's some stuff you can catch you can't get rid of or whatever.
Yeah, the worst one's like hepatitis now. Like, even AIDS it's all.
Isn't there like there's like a close cure for that now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's like,
HIV and AIDS are just like manageable diseases now.
Yeah, there's several cases, and I don't know where they're at, but there's several cases where there's people that have like essentially been scientifically cured of the disease.
Scientifically?
I don't know the best way. I'm not a fucking scientist.
Cured.
I'm not a scientist. I
had this kind of like deep.
Nope.
I had this like deep fear that I would catch something and then give it to someone else, and I wouldn't be able to handle the guilt. So actually, in between every partner, I went to the doctors and I got a blood test, like a full chart, to make sure that I had no STDs. And I had really good health insurance, and
turns out I got scurvy.
It got to the point where they like knew me at the fucking health clinic. They're like, dude, you don't have anything. I was like, just run the.
But one time you might.
Wait, dude,
one time you might.
Are you a hypochondriac? Like, do you get bad anxiety about like having like all kinds of shit? Like, oh fuck, this headache is for sure a tumor in my brain. Like, I've got cancer. I'm dying early.
Well, they tested me for known STDs that time, and nothing came back. But what they told me was, you had sex with someone and you have some sort of bacterial infection. So like that is a STD or an STI. Like you, it was a sexually transmitted something is going on with you, and we can give you antibiotics and it'll go away. And it did. So
can't guys get yeast infections? I'm pretty sure guys can get yeast infections. And
I've had a yeast infection.
Have you really?
You want to talk about that?
What the fuck is that like?
Did you
for
feel
a
like
dude?
you needed to put a toothpick in your pee hole to itch it? Like, what was the issue?
No, I wasn't very itchy. My balls got super dry, and flaky.
Like,
this is the best
flaky?
podcast.
Wait, your balls turned into dried dates real quick? Like, what
My
the
balls
fuck?
got like super dry and like red and flaky. And what I had to do is I had to go, and the girl who was my ex-girlfriend and I had to both go and get a pill that got rid of all fungus in your body. Otherwise, we just would keep giving it back and forth to each other.
Wouldn't that pill be bad? Because some of the fungus is good, right? Like some of the things.
Yeast infection.
All right, how much does this guy listen? How much does this guy listen to the Rogan podcast? I need friends to tell me because that was
all the time, all the time.
I've literally
listen here, Matt. Everything out that dude's fucking fat mouth is either from the Joe Rogan podcast, the Doug Stanhope podcast, or some obscure other fucking podcast no one's heard of.
Such your soulless, ginger, freckled mouth, Luke. No one wants to hear your shitty, redheaded Irish descendant opinions. All right.
I think that there's a Hard Times headline that's coming out that I pitched that I haven't had the time to write yet. It's something like science fact, friend just contributed to conversation, definitely from Joe Rogan podcast. Yeah, it sounds because like the whole like concern of like whether or not the fungus is like it's gonna mess up your gut bio, bro. Yeah.
There's all these videos on the internet going around now.
You're so right, dude. I might have just like ripped some Rogan shit. You guys are both right. The fuck am I doing? I'm the least creative person on this podcast right now. I should go. I'm gonna go hang myself. I'll be right back, you guys.
But yeah, you guys ever get super dry, flaky balls? Might be a yeast infection, bro.
No, dude.
I'll remember that, dude.
Get the pill.
I'm gonna write that down.
So when
you guys want to know anything more about sexual health? Let's get into it, guys.
Yeah. Matt, I have another question. When you scratch your balls. No, not how you shave them. Hold on, Pat. One question at a time, bud. All right, when you scratch your balls, Matt, do you just go in there like a fucking like a lunatic, like a Tasmanian devil, and start scratching your balls full of nails, just like really scratching them up, or like a gentleman, do you smoke a bowl first, go into your pants, and then take the middle nut skin, the seam of your nuts, like if you clipped it open with some scissors, your nuts would just fall out. That seam of your nutsack right down the middle. Don't act confused like you don't know what I'm talking about, Matt. It's all inflamed and itchy. It's bigger and easier for you to look at now.
Sounds like you have a yeast infection, bro.
No, I'm talking about yours. I'm not talking about mine. But you know how you grab it right in the middle and then you kind of just roll it back and forth in your fingers.
It's called the
scratch it.
The pinch. You know the pinch.
The
you
pinch
and
All
twirl.
right, so the
you know what I'm talking about?
Of course he does. Look at that beard. He grows voracious nut hairs, all right, that like make him itch all day long. If he shaves it once, it's coming back double the fucking length and strength. All right, so when he's rolling that,
rolling the fucking ball skin.
When I roll my ball and nut skin, it creates one specific. Stay with me, Matt. We'll get back to the hard times. It creates one specific red patch. Almost like I got like sucker punched by Mike Tyson in the nuts or something like that.
Are you saying the middle stream of your nut is red? Is that what you're saying?
You want to see it? Hold on,
raw, dude.
Okay, I was just making sure. All right, I got.
I don't know. I don't have that problem, man. Honestly,
no. What I was saying
frank
is,
with you, when I had the yeast infection, it was the sides of my nuts were red and the middle seam was not red, and that's how I could tell the difference of skin color and knew that I had some sort of issue.
No, Matt, the reason I was bringing it up is because you said, did you guys ever have like itchy, flaky nuts? And I was like, yes, one time, but just from constant nut pinch and rolling, just like an OCD, like
just
pinch and roll.
Scratching his nuts.
I'm at work. I work as a cook. I'm over here pinching and rolling. Then I'm grabbing the salt, seasoning, beating gnocchi. You know how it goes,
yeah,
Matt.
Fair enough.
Wow.
Oh, I want to throw up.
God.
I don't really do that. Please don't fire me from work.
He totally does that.
He does.
He speaks from the heart.
He told me in confidence.
This is not the first time he's brought this up.
Fuck it. I'll take a chance. I have 8 out.
I had a friend in college who got into this thing which he described as crystal balling, which was like he got an erection and then took like the palm of his hand and like rubbed the top of his dick like to like make his like pee hole feel good or something, and he did it so much that he split his dick. Like the pee hole started like
What?
Like the pee hole started like breaking apart and getting like too big, and then he wrote a song about it called "Split Dick." He was a weird guy.
Pictures or it didn't happen, Matt.
Crystal balling. Oh my God, that is such an apt description.
Yeah, but what is that? What's that one thing called? Sounding? What the fuck?
He plays in a band called the Nopes.
The Nopes. You know, back to bands. You had said that somewhere you were in a dollar bin. What band were you in back when you were playing drums, man?
I played in a band called Zero Progress. It was a hardcore band, and then I played in a band called Skull Stomp before that, and then I played in a band called Pure. And I played in a band called Wasted Dream. I was mostly a frontman, but I also did drum stuff from time to time. Zero Progress was the band that did the most. We toured the U.S. like twice. Went to Canada a couple times. Played some festivals.
Got some good tour stories?
Yeah. I had a blind dog get fucked on top of me one time.
Wait, what?
Tell that whole story.
Yeah.
From beginning to end. From the adoption of the dog all the way to you nutting.
We were in Tucson, Arizona, and we had just played a show, and it was really hot. We were like traveling, and it was like an historic heat wave, and garbage cans were melting and shit.
Wow. What the fuck?
Seriously? How hot does it have to be for
you in a van?
fucking plastic garbage can to melt?
Were you touring in a van?
We were in a van.
So you slept in a van?
Did you leave? Okay, so here.
Yeah, tell me.
So let him tell the story. We need to stop talking. Go ahead, Matt.
So we played some show. I think we played in like a brick shed in a backyard, and I already was really sick. I'd ate some bad food. I was feeling really bad. But we said, hey, does anyone have a place where we can sleep? I think we played with Gay Kiss. They were a really great hardcore band from back in the day. And some guy said, yeah, you can crash at our place. But it's like, like 6 people, spur of the moment. Like most people with normal houses, like don't always let you in. So this guy, gives us an address, and we show up. And it's obviously like a DIY squat, which is no problem. We sleep in those sort of places all the time. But we open the door, and there's like 15, 17 dogs in there. And we're like, and then there's like a thick layer of dirt on the ground, like maybe like an inch of dirt, to the point where like you can't tell if it's carpet or dirt or like debris or what. There's all these like vats, like they're like, it looked like, my first impression was that it was meth. I later found out that they were like trying to brew wine or something. There's all these like vats.
Gross.
And we're like, hey man, like, what's up with all the dogs? Because it's hard not to bring it up. Like there's like 17 dogs in your living room. And he goes, well, they're not mine. We go, okay, so why are there 17 dogs in your living room then? He goes, well, there's a dog park down the street, but it's really hot, so all these strays had nowhere to go. So like I just let them all in my house, which is like kind of like a heartwarming thing. Like that's nice. He didn't want the dogs to overheat and die.
But also that dude's a psycho a little bit. Like who just lets hella stray dogs in their house?
No, but like lots of stray dogs, right?
Was there shit all over the ground?
Yeah, pretty much. It was really rough.
Dog hoarding.
But anyways, I'm like super tired. We had drove 12 hours that day or whatever. So I decided to like try to go to sleep, right? So I lay down, I roll out my sleeping bag, and this blind dog gets on top of me and starts humping me. And like, so I like freak out, like I stand up. I'm like, whoa, like not trying to get humped by a blind dog, right? But I'm really tired. So I try to go down again, and the dog finds me again after a couple minutes. But then as I'm trying to push the dog off, another bigger dog gets on top of that dog and starts fucking that dog. So I'm underneath 2 stray animals, which are having sex on top of me.
There's a Russian egg doll of dog fucking going on above you.
So like I scurry away, push these dogs away, and I'm like, I cannot sleep in here, guys. I'm sorry. I don't know why these dogs are attracted to me in particular. And so I go and I say, fuck it, I'm sleeping in the van. But it's like, is legitimately like 130 outside. This guy had air conditioning, right? So that was like a huge thing. And the van is like, it's getting baked, right? So it's even hotter inside there because there's no airflow. But I say, fuck it. And I get like a Ziploc bag and some ice, and I put the ice in the bags, and I put one on my forehead and one on my chest, and I lay down in the van, and I try to sleep. But it literally feels like I'm in an oven. I eventually fall asleep, but then I wake up and I'm like, and I can't breathe. It's probably only been like 20 minutes.
Because your lungs have been seared completely shut.
Exactly. I can't breathe at all. And the ice has melted and it's like on the floor and shit. And I'm like panicking, and I jump out of the van. I think I ended up just like standing outside all night until my guys were ready to go.
God, that is fucking miserable, Matt.
Yeah, sucked.
Good God.
Dude, we're at about I don't know how long you have for us. We usually do about hour and 42 hours. We're at about an hour. Do you have another 40 to an hour in you? Or if not, I understand.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no problem at all. I have a call at 6 p.m., so I have another hour of spare time.
We usually take a break at about this point, so we're gonna cut the podcast off. When we come back, we'll do a ad read from our sponsor, and then we'll be right back with the listeners and stuff. Stay tuned.
All right, boys, I'm gonna fill up my glass.
Hey, fuckers, we're back. All right, we're still talking to Matt. He's munching down on a chocolate muffin really quickly. We want to.
So good.
It looks fucking delicious, dude. I wish that I had a big, just fluffy, fucking chocolate chippy muffin to munch down on the podcast right now.
And what would you use to wash that muffin down, Cody?
I mean, probably a delicious drink of Jägermeister that I'm drinking out of one of these Kneel to No One glasses, which is our sponsor. It's Anthony Tank Mansfield. He runs the company Kneel to No One, which Pat's holding up to our camera right now. That's KNEELTONOONE.com, or go to his Insta, go to his Twitter, whatever you want. His website. You can get these awesome samurai sifter glasses, these 16-ounce goblet cups that he's got. It's got his logo. It's got this dope-ass fucking samurai on it, these swords. He's got dope enamel pins. You can get his custom artwork from there and T-shirts, which we're all piece of shit fucking podcast people. We're not wearing one, but he's got these dope fucking Cthulhu with a hot beard on there, and it says Kneel to No One, a big outline of Ohio, and it's got a big hop on it. It's all like beer-related, like dude-related shit. Like, you'd really enjoy it. KTNO, Kneel to No One. All right, back to the episode.
So while we were talking about on the break, we were talking about like video games and the morality of like your choices in the games. Like he was talking about a game called Tropico, which I always thought it was going to be a very happy kind of Sim City kind of game, but it turns out you're a dictator the whole time.
Hell yeah, brother. Guys,
so cool.
I just realized, am I going to be on video in this podcast?
You are. Actually, really quickly, can somebody turn on the backlight because it's getting dark in here? Sorry.
Gotta plug it in.
Here, we'll talk over it really quickly. But as you were saying, Pat.
Yeah, so we were talking about Luke's knocking shit over.
Luke almost just knocked over the whole
guys,
rig
do I have more street cred now?
Yeah, you look way better, dude.
Yeah, you look super legit. In the background, Luke is destroying our studio. Yeah. He's trying to turn on the backlight so that our video watchers on YouTube, the very few of them that aren't, like everybody that's listening basically is just listening. But for the few people that are watching this episode, we need to plug in a light in the background so that you can actually be seen, because we realized that without that backlight, you're not going to be seen very well in the video element of this. So there we go. Matt, when you see this through our webcam, it's going to be real bright in the background for you, so you won't really see us, but you'll be all right.
Don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it.
All right, cool. We were jumping back into video games and stuff like that, and we were just talking about, Pat, what was the name of that game that you were bringing up? Tropico. So are you a big player of this game?
I play a lot of video games in general. I play a little bit less now. I work so much. I actually have another company that I work on too. So I have hard times at another company. And so I pretty much work like 14, 15 hours a day. And then I go to sleep. So I don't always game as much as I want to. I do have like 3,000 or 4,000 hours in PUBG.
Fuck yeah.
Which is kind of embarrassing because I'm still not even good at it, you know?
Like how many kills what would you say like the most kills you got in one match was?
14, I think.
Dude, that's a fuck ton. You say you're not good? What the fuck? I hardly get like 2.
But I haven't got that much in a very long time. That was like, you play thousands of hours. You eventually, one game, a bunch of guys aren't looking the right way or something like that.
That's one time the whole squad. That's nuts.
But yeah, when I was growing up, punk video games, that was my shit. One of those games I was playing was Tropico. Tropico 6 came out a couple days ago. I haven't had a chance to buy it yet because it's been a particularly busy time, but I am waiting for the moment when my fucking companies or my girlfriend or my brother or my family doesn't need something from me, so I can huddle myself into this room and play Tropico 6, become a dictator of a remote island. It's a very fun game.
You said you like being an asshole in it too. It's like the way to get all your frustrations out, especially with how much stress you probably deal with on a daily basis.
talk to people in my life, I'm sure I'm just an asshole in real life too.
Do you just run things on this tropical island the way that you want to run things at hard times? Like just fucking slamming your fist down and speaking in German? I'm just kidding.
Hard Times is a very collaborative project. There's lots of like democracy involved in it, which benefits it in so many ways. But there is always this element of there's always like the grass is greener on the other side. So I decided when we did Hard Times that it was going to benefit the company if we opened it up to a whole lot of people, right? And those people were going to input their ideas and their creativity. And I think that's the true reason why Hard Times was successful. I could not have done this. Bill and I could not have done this without the input from all these people. But sometimes, every once in a while, too much input. Do you know what I mean?
Something where they think that they're running your company, and you're like, hold on.
A little bit.
Like, what do you mean? You got any
settle down
examples?
just a bit. Come on, man. I know what I'm doing. I started this from scratch. Like, don't fucking tell me how to run my project.
That's a very human response, but it's actually a very detrimental response. So it's one that I try to mute, you know? It's good. If people are giving you information about what things you're doing wrong, you should be able to, like, take that in and then change your actions if it's, you know, right. But every once in a while, we all need something like Tropico 6 where we can just be a dictator, and anyone who like protests, you just click a button and your boys come and kill them. It's a very fun game.
The thing about
it's like Sim City, but like you can be evil.
Yeah, I love the games where you have the option to do that. Like Red Dead, for example, there's like a morality reader. Does that even affect the end of the game? Because I was an asshole. I had the lowest the whole time. I killed fucking everyone, and Rachel always called me a psycho.
I haven't got to the end of the game.
You're supposed to be evil. I don't understand why the good route for that game had such a high benefit. It's a cowboy game.
Yeah, you're a murderer.
You were a part of a gang, so you should have been like cutting throats and getting pluses for that. This is what I was doing. I mean, I went through some guilt trips towards the end of the game, so I made some good decisions. But
hey, you guys want to get into a real podcasty topic?
Let's go.
Rogan shit. Let's fucking do it, bro.
Let's make it balls deep.
Why in Red Dead Redemption 2 can you not kill the prostitutes? Give me a fucking break.
You really can? I didn't know that.
What are these people levitating above us like some sort of fucking gods that we can't touch them? You can kill anyone else in that game. You can kill fucking kids. You can kill like priests, and then prostitutes you can't kill. Has anyone talked about that? It's very bizarre.
I mean, why is that? If you can kill if you can kill females in that game, but not prostitutes, I really don't understand that.
You also can't hire them, right?
I didn't even know that they were even in there, to be honest.
You can't buy
the only sexual thing that I saw was like you're getting a bath. You're paying for a bath in the game because you get dirty in this game and you have to take baths, or otherwise people will look down on you if you don't know.
That main bar that you go into, you remember the bar fight that you get into that's drunk or whatever? Like one of the funnier missions in the game where you get hammered with the one dude.
Yeah.
You walk into people having sex with the prostitutes upstairs. Aren't they the same ones that you could buy throughout the game or whatever?
So what happens when you buy them?
It's upstairs. It's upstairs. There's a bunch of prostitutes, and they're saying stuff about how they're prostitutes, but you can't buy them and you can't hurt them.
Yeah,
what?
They're like protected. Am I wrong?
That's a bunch of
shenanigans.
shenanigans.
Right. That's so weird.
Yeah.
Isn't like Grand Theft Auto known for like killing prostitutes and like having sex with them, killing them, and then stealing your money back?
Good point.
Exactly. I think that particular thing they were afraid of. So they made one particular thing that you couldn't do, which was buy a prostitute or kill a prostitute. But it's very weird because there's like not very many other limitations in the game at all. Like you can gamble with a priest and then fucking pound his head in and then light his body on fire. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But like you can't buy sex. That's like a little weird, especially because it's like the Wild West.
How are they going to release any more new games? Like, I feel like I've read something by Rockstar where, like, they're just, like, going to keep cutting back on their rules and couldn't keep cutting back. But Rockstar says they refuse to release, like, another Grand Theft Auto or try to work on one in this current political climate. And it's just so stupid that that's, like, something that would be affected by that. Not saying
that's
what's
true?
going
to...
I've totally read that several times on the Rockstar page.
Wow.
But, yeah, they said, like, they're too nervous in this political climate. But then again, it's Rockstar. They could be totally bullshitting you the whole time.
That could be just like a delaying tactic, yeah.
Matt, you bring up an interesting point about sex and violence that I want to kind of talk about a little bit. Like you're trying to get into it is kind of like an iconically Western thing to just be so like
a piece of shit.
What cartel beheading on tape TV 14. What, you want to show a sex scene where somebody's getting pregnant and the miracle of birth is going to happen and like there's going to be a baby that like we all were babies at one point, like this all comes from sex, everything around you that you're looking at all kinds of, it's all because some people fucked at one point. You don't show that though. Don't show that. NC-17, like, oh, that's AO. You can't even distribute your game. You can't even fucking release your movie. That can't go on TV.
I mean,
there's a sex scene. You have to save that for Netflix, and it's still got to be tasteful.
Hold on, bud.
Like, that fucking cartel beheading wasn't tasteful when you're cutting through his head with a butter knife on the Netflix documentary about Pablo Escobar. And his eyes are rolling back like a bingo ball hopper.
What's
in his
your
head
fucking point here? Do you
We're
want to
talking
see
about video games.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
know.
Like,
What
do
are you
want to
talking about?
see sex in video games or something?
You're talking about
Yes.
He's talking about fucking babies and giving life and shit with fucking video games. What the fuck are you talking about?
Your argument made no goddamn sense.
It makes complete sense because what my point is you can have all the it's exactly what Matt's saying. You can have all the graphic violence you want, but as soon as you show a titty, oh no, we can't distribute the game anymore. Like, hold on a minute. Like, you're saying that sex is even worse than graphic murder? Like, what are you talking about? Like, just what he said. You could play cards with this priest, fucking kill him afterwards, take his money and his clothes back, light him on fire, but oh no, don't fuck
show
in the game. No titty in the game.
Then fucking say that next time.
I said that in
you were talking about life and
you took me on a fucking field trip before you got to your goddamn
adventure.
point.
It's a podcast, you sons of bitches. I'm trying to milk this
Yeah,
topic.
it's a podcast, not a goddamn philosophy
what are you
reading.
talking about?
Just because my co-hosts are mentally challenged individuals, what's the politically correct words? They have an extra chromosome apiece.
Mongoloid, you illiterate fuck.
Holy God, I hope the medical definition for people that are differently abled is not mongoloid. Hope that's not what they call them. But my mongoloid hosts over here, they fucking, like, just because they can't understand that I'm trying to milk a topic for all that it's worth to get every possible minute out of this.
Wow.
A good podcast conversation. Sorry.
It was just going somewhere, man.
Well, let's bring it back to video games, like this whole thing should
video
have been
games.
About. All right, so Matt, you had said back when you were younger, what you did was play and listen to punk music and play video games. What video games got you into them? Like, what was your
let's
first?
hear that.
What are some
What's
of your
favorite
even?
game?
Yeah.
Oh, I got super into
Besides PUBG.
When I was younger, N64, all the wrestling video games like WCW Revenge and like all the WWF games.
What about Conker's Bad Fur Day, son? What do you mean? You shooting out
What about the
N64?
guy game?
GoldenEye.
Played GoldenEye a lot, but I was really into the wrestling games. I played pretty much all the James Bond game for a long time, even on the GameCube. Played like Time Splitters.
That's supposed to be making a comeback soon.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
That should be really cool.
Yeah, I was really into this weird Dreamcast game. It was called like Sega Bass Fishing or something like that.
What?
And we had this like remote control that was like a fishing rod that you like actually cast. It was pretty cool, but it broke our Dreamcast eventually. It was like some glitch.
You've got a fucking sweet Sega Power Glove that you could use to like fucking catch fish and shit like that.
I never had one of those. Yeah, it was just like this. It was like instead of a controller, it looked like a rod. It was pretty cool. I played Seaman. Do you guys remember that one?
No,
not at all.
It's fucking weird, dude. You like raise this like tadpole into like a half man, half frog thing, and you could talk to it.
What?
And there's a Dreamcast extender thing where your memory card would go. It had a microphone, and you were supposed to talk to your Seaman.
I remember
those
mics.
Yeah, it was fucking weird.
Did you ever
Animal
play
Crossing? Huge into that. Yeah.
Dreamcast,
Echo the Dolphin?
Dreamcast? What? Shut the
Echo
fuck
the
up with that
Dolphin?
whack ass game, Patrick. Anyways,
What game?
the Echo the fucking
Let me
Dolphin.
tell you about it. Let me tell you about it.
No, let's fucking ditch
just
that
for a
game
second.
in the gutter where it should have stayed.
Throw that game right in the toilet. That game sucks balls.
Thank you. All right, can we talk about how advanced the Dreamcast was for its time? It was able to connect to the internet. It had it had a port for an Ethernet cable, and you could get a Windows disk. I have it to this day, I swear. And you can connect to the internet. They even updated it up until I think it was like 2006. They were updating that fucking disk port.
Can you watch porn on it?
I have no idea.
Guys, does anyone remember this?
That's a good question.
Here, earlier in this podcast, I was telling you about my cushy ass upbringing. Here, I'm going to expose myself. So, did anyone else have the Sega Game Channel thing?
Yeah. It was supposed to look up to your cables, right?
No, you rich motherfuckers. I never experienced that. Do you see my
No, I think I remember
the tattered clothes from 2004 that I'm wearing and shit? I mean, maybe you can't see it through the webcam, Matt.
I think they talked about it on Stern forever ago. Yeah, it was supposed to be a Sega. You like connect it to your TV and it would go through your cable and you could play games on there.
Yeah, dude, it was fucking nuts. It was like Netflix for video games, but for Sega Genesis. And they came out to your house and they like laid the cords or something. And
what?
It was like a
Sega.
It was like a subscription. You had to pay a certain amount a month, and you could play any of these games. I don't know how it worked at all. I would love to check out some sort of retroactive thing, looking into what that was.
But wait, you had that shit as a kid?
I think I had it for like a month or two, and then my dad got upset and canceled it because
it was like $400 or something.
Yeah, I remember
people coming out to your house to do wire work.
My neighbor had it. I remember us having it for a little bit because I definitely remember like the Sega guy laying a wire in my house as a child and him telling me how there's gonna be video games coming through the wire. That's pretty fucking advanced for Sega Genesis.
Yeah,
very weird.
That's insane how Sega was way ahead of the whole streaming game for a long while.
And
then it flopped hard.
Well, now they have a Sega Genesis Mini that they just started releasing on Amazon.
Well,
and that's crazy.
But the thing is, Patrick, companies these days can only make money off of rehashes.
Yeah, that's very true.
I wonder if it probably wasn't actually streaming. It probably was like you just like downloaded it through your cable, I guess. I don't know. Well, there wasn't a hard drive on the Sega Genesis, was there? So where would it download to?
Now, when they were talking about it on Stern, he had said the exact thing, that he thought it was supposed to connect through a cable wire and stream like that. But when he said the Sega guy came to set up the wires and everything, it wasn't just the wires. Like, he set up a whole computer inside of his house that was supposed to support it too. It wasn't as like simple and streamy as it was supposed to be. Like, they came in and installed like a box into your house that helped support it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, that was probably where the hard drive was, and I guess maybe that's why my dad was upset, because it was more expensive or something.
Yeah, probably. The installation was probably an arm and a leg.
Plus, it's going through dial-up internet to download everything at that time. Like, you didn't have any type of
foolproof.
Play Sonic CD in 38 hours.
As long as your great aunt from Minnesota doesn't call.
I remember thinking it was like the sickest shit, though. I was like, what? They're going to like beam video games to my fucking house? This was like... Damn, we weren't downloading anything at this point. Like, I don't even know if I knew what the word download was.
How much of a baller did you feel like at that point in your life? Were you just like bragging to all your kids in middle school or the 5th grade, like just sitting there like, yeah, dude, what's up? I mean, I just get all the video games streamed to my house every day.
My neighbor got it for me.
I'm really trying to think about it, and I remember feeling very jealous of my neighbor who had it working at his house, and I remember the guy in my house, and then I remember my dad getting mad. So I'm not 100% sure if we set it up. Like, I think maybe the guy came to my house and then he was like, there's an installation fee or something. And my dad was like, fuck off.
I mean,
maybe we had it for a month or something. So
obviously,
I don't really
this shit isn't around. So I'm assuming that the system was fucked somehow. Like, everything was terrible about the entire system. Like, it probably, for the majority of the time, didn't work always.
Well, sometimes there's like technology that's really cool, but it's like too ahead of the curve.
Yep.
You know, like people aren't ready for it. The infrastructure isn't ready for it.
Yep.
But it's like someone at Sega had this great idea to like stream games, but it just wasn't quite working out yet.
Sega was ahead of its time. Dreamcast and that streaming service for prime examples.
You know,
well, I guess Dreamcast is like it fucked over Sega, right? Because they made way too many, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they had quality games though. I mean, Power Stone 2.
Power Stone was great.
Fantastic. It gave them great sales.
Did you hear Luke, though? He was just like, they had great games. Power Stone, Power Stone 2, Power Stone.
All right, Knockout.
Power Stone 1, the rehash.
But the best games that were ever released.
They had Soul Reaver on there, Soul Reaver 2 as well.
You know what else had that? The PS2, which was a superior system. You know how I know it was? Because PlayStation's still around, Luke. That's how I know.
Yeah.
Good point.
The Dreamcast broke quite a bit. I think I went through like 2 or 3, to be honest. Like,
really?
I think my fucking fishing rod thing was like frying them. So yeah.
Luke's only saying that they were cutting edge based on YouTube videos that he watched. He never actually owned one.
I still use it.
This lion
sack of shit.
I still have it to this day, you son of a bitch. I'll send you pictures. I have Soul Reaver on it.
As far
I
as
got a new roommate, and he's got a Switch. I'm pretty excited to play that.
Dude, that's a lot of fun.
Switches are fantastic, Matt. I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it.
And you can play, you can do almost anything on them now. Like they're adding like Xbox Live or Xbox Game Pass to it, and then PlayStation's doing multiplayer.
Yeah, they're bringing the Xbox Game Pass games there. Yeah,
I had heard that they were thinking about doing that, but it didn't actually work out.
Oh, what? Really?
I don't know. I don't know. You guys should check out. You guys like games? You guys should check out Hard Drive. It's like Hard Drive run by similar people. But there's just like social media profiles that are a little different, and it's all game stuff. It's on the hardtimes.net, but there's different social media profiles. So just check out Hard Drive Mag. I think that's what it's called.
Believe me,
Do you have anything that you could pull up right now as a current example of something that they could get? Like, what would be some of the content that they could experience on harddrive.net?
Sure, yeah. Give me 1 second.
Absolutely.
It's actually the same. It's the same website, but it's just a different section run by a unique team.
You go to the game section of like hardtimes.net or something like that. Do you guys have something up top? I'm sure they've got like a whole banner, and I'm sure that it's gonna
tabs.
It's gonna keep going. I mean, you guys that are listening, I'm sure you're either familiar with the Hard Times or already falling in love with the Hard Times through the fucking just like the reading the articles and like seeing the shit that they're talking about and stuff like that. I'm sure that through everybody listening, you're gonna continue to have more and more fans that are going to allow you to expand into other like little outlets and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, hopefully,
eventually. I mean, it's going to the podcast now. It's going to the video games. I mean, whatever the future holds, I'm sure it's diverse. Did you get that pulled up though?
Are you guys?
I did.
Yes. Well, some of those examples.
This one is like kind of about games, but it's kind of just about nerd culture. This is Jordan Peele is the new director for
Us and
Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
So this headline is Cruel Twilight Zone episodes explore alternative reality where Keegan-Michael Key is the one who makes it big. Let's see. Borderlands 3 cover art revealed to be Randy Pitchford shooting himself in the foot. Let's see.
I saw the Borderlands one. Do you guys have that?
Circus level inexplicably pulling double duty as water level.
Wasn't there one that was like
Borderlands 3 postponed until artist figures out to make guy shoot himself with 3 handguns?
Yeah. That's a good third way for a guy to shoot himself in the head.
Yeah. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, but I'm a big believer that hard drive very well may be the thing that really grows a lot at Hard Times, because it doesn't really seem to have that much of a roof to it, you know? There's only so many people who have our kind of upbringing, but everyone kind of plays games, right? So
you should branch out into a podcast for that.
I was just about to say.
Every time that you've got like a new facet of the Hard Times, I mean, just find that dude that's running. Like you said, you have a comedian you said out of, was it New York, or am I wrong about
Jeremy
that?
Kapowitz. Let me tell you something. I told him to start a podcast, and he started one about a Super Mario Brothers show from the 90s that no one watches.
The cartoon
Guess what,
show?
Man?
You got to give them a little direction, but like comedians sometimes can be slippery with their motivations and shit like that. So you got to be like, "Hey, man, it's got to kind of fit some rules and shit." If I'm gonna give you $50 a month to start a podcast, I mean, $50 a month, my dude, you're just gonna spend that willy nilly? No, I'm gonna give you a whole direction to go with and shit.
It's like a cartoon, but it also has live action to it. So it like starts as live action, then it goes to cartoon. It's Mario and Luigi living as brothers in New York City in a basement apartment. It's a very weird show.
It sounds cool, but
video game podcasts are very successful. So I think that would be a great opportunity. Like there's like Watch Out for Fireballs, Abject Suffering, and like Video Game Apocalypse and Laser Time, which is a great one to listen to. But
I'm sure they'll figure it out. Actually, do you guys know his name? I'm gonna look it up. I went to college with a guy who ended up being like kind of a big games journalist. His name is Ben. He works for Giant Bomb, I think.
Oh, Giant Bomb. Yeah, my brother, he listens to that show all the time.
I thought you were about to pull out like a connect from Giant Bomb real quick, Luke. Oh yeah, my brother started that company. He was like, nah, my brother, he listened to that in prison one time.
He's just he works there. His name is Ben Pack. He's like an extremely tall individual.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a giant bomb guy. He's a friend of mine from college. We went to journalism school together. But he hasn't wrote about hard drive yet, so...
Oh, that's
what a piece of shit.
How close are we really?
Really?
How close are we really, Ben?
How much is that friendship worth, man? Come on.
Calling you out.
Yeah, you piece of shit.
Tell us all about... I mean, Matt, I think right now is the time where you sell Ben up the river for all of his scandals and cheating on his wife that you know about. I mean, just go ahead and drop that. I mean, take another drink of whiskey.
Here's the thing about Ben. Super nice guy. Nothing bad to say about him.
Oh, God damn it. God damn it.
No dirt on him. Yeah, I think that's probably why he's successful. It's just he's like, if you hang out with him, you're like, oh, I like that guy.
I bet you wish you had some dirt on him.
You know what, Ben? I kind of love you already. I love you, Ben. I don't even know you.
Ben, I'll make out with you. I mean, unless you got like a giant dick. I mean, then I'm gonna feel insuperior. You gotta have the same little dick that I have. All right. I like our dicks to match.
I think he might actually have a giant dick. He has like gigantism.
Oh,
he
what
doesn't
the
stop
fuck?
growing. Yeah.
This guy is
So-
just
You're
winning in
saying
everything.
you know that he's packing? Like, you think that every time you're around him? Like, this dude's got a big dick.
I mean, I can just feel it pulsing out of his pants.
You can feel the power radiating from it.
You're like, I got big dick energy around me
This
right
thing
now.
would take me down.
You're kind of hoping when somebody's like 6'8", like 7 feet tall. I hope you have a big dick, because if you don't, your whole life sucks. Like, you could be tall as fuck, but if you just have like my dick on your fucking 7-foot body, like just 6 inches of whatever on your fucking giant 8-foot body, like you looking like Andre the Giant, it looks like a pinky finger. It looks like not even a whole pinky finger, just the first knuckle and the pinky finger. If you're fucking 8 feet tall, you got my dick on you. Like, I hope to God you got a fire hose worth of cock to match that fucking big gigantic car from stone body. Otherwise, your life is just fucking miserable. You turn into Ed Kemper, the serial killer. That dude had a little dick and he was fucking like 7 feet tall. And you know what he did? He killed both of his grandparents and then murdered hookers on the side of the fucking 101. That's what he did, and now he's in jail forever.
And he can't do that in Red Dead. Can't murder those hookers.
God damn it.
I was asking like people like, you think Thanos has a really big dick? Think Thanos is like really packing, and that he's not really like on the hunt to like kill all half of the universe. He just wants to find a pussy big enough.
Pat, of course, after he got all the Infinity Stones, he was like snapped his pinky finger and was like, biggest dick in the universe. And then after biggest dick in the universe, and he's like, I'm gonna do my very noble thing where I kill half of humanity so the rest of the universe can survive. But first, biggest dick in the universe, his whole dick just donkey dicks up real quick, and then he snaps and kills everybody.
I think having the biggest dick in the universe might actually not be all that great, right? Dicks are kind of like, they get to a certain length where they actually become like a little bit of a problem. You know, like people don't want to have sex with a gigantic dick.
We watched a video one time of some guy who had like a 40-pound nutsack. You remember that shit? He couldn't even fucking walk. He was like walking around with like a third leg that was hanging in his pants.
What is that, like a tumor or something?
Yeah, it was definitely a tumor.
Absolutely was a tumor.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's not natural.
Without question, was a monstrous tumor.
It looked like he was carrying a duffel bag in his pants.
There's a server at work that doubles as, she works as a server and also is like a nurse's aide at a hospital. And she keeps, like, every single day that I see her, she talks about this patient that came in that has a fucking scrotum that she doesn't describe in weight. She just does it in hand sizes. And I'll hold it up for you, Matt. She does this to describe a scrotum. I was like, get the fucking fuck out of here. Are you serious? I was like, what's his dick look like? She was like completely normal dick, but it's all
giant balls.
She was like, it's buried by the scrotum. She said the scrotum skin just like completely envelops it. So when he pisses, he has to piss up through this layer of scrotum skin and fat and infection, and it just kind of like volcanoes out of the side and shit like that, like a stream. There's fucking rocks and hairs and fucking twigs and shit in there. I don't know.
Twigs?
I'm saying that for comedic value.
It's got like an ecosystem.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just thinking about this, and I keep asking her about it every time I see her. She could be like, I work in a very high volume, like, it's a decent kitchen, like really, well, it's a nice kitchen, but I'm really focusing on making sure the dishes come out right and stuff like that, and she'll come back, and I'll be in the middle and making like 4 beet gnocchis and a fucking Argentine chicken, trying to make sure everything's seared and cooked perfectly, and I'll see her and I'll be like, how's the scrotum? Just like, tell me about the progress of the scrotum. She's like, actually, it shrunk a little bit. Instead of being the size of 4 Andre the Giant heads, now it's the size of 1 basketball. I was like, that's still insane. Like, what are you talking about right now?
You think
like,
it's just mostly skin? It's like normal nutsack size in the inside, but it's just a thick layer of ball sack skin.
I don't know what it is. But I want her to take pictures of it. I'm sure that's against HIPAA, but
yeah,
take a picture and chill.
Yeah, picture didn't happen.
Yeah.
Let's see this guy's nutsack.
Matt, I think what I'm trying to get to is how big has your balls ever swollen up to?
My friend, I was playing video games with my friend recently, and he was like, his brother was like had to go to the emergency room because he had like a twisted testicle. And it like swelled up like crazy. Have you heard about that?
How does that happen?
Where the one ball goes into the other part of the sack or something?
They split?
I don't really know.
Switcheroo?
It's like a switcheroo kind of, but like maybe like one more time around, or like I don't know if it's like just twisting, like you take it like one side, it doesn't move sides, but it just like kind of twists around. But if you get a twisted testicle, you only have like a certain amount of hours. It starts to swell up, and if you don't fix it, you have to like amputate it or whatever, I believe.
God.
So I think they swell up really quick, like the size of a grapefruit. And you have to go to the doctor's office, and they do something. I don't know exactly what they do. I heard about that, and I always get like kind of nervous about it. Like I'll have like, I feel like one of my nuts or something will like rotate like a little bit, and I can feel like a little bit of tension or something, and I'm like, oh God, don't touch it, because it might be like I might end up actually twisting it or something.
God, you're making my nutsack hurt just hearing this.
That's fucking nightmarish.
That's nightmare fuel. Oh my God. Anyways,
so, Matt, how much cocaine did you do in your past? I mean, you were telling us off mic you were a real cokehead.
What?
And I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm making jokes.
Defamation.
Fucking around.
Yeah.
Just making jokes.
Anyways, but a question we like to ask a lot of our guests and anybody that comes on, that I like to ask as Luke's looking up, what's the least amount of money you would take to shove a whole stick of butter up your ass?
Yeah.
I'm getting there.
Uh-huh.
I want to know. Like a cold stick of butter that's unsalted. It's fresh off there. Now, it melts at body temperature. I'm not giving you a time frame. All right, you have as much time as you want for the whole stick.
Butter. Is it on camera? Or
No,
is it just
for sure it's a camera,
it?
dude. I'm not paying you money without a camera on it. What do you mean? I'm miking your asshole up. I'm going to mic your mouth up. Like, all the noises that you're making, we're going full Pornhub for this.
If we're doing on camera, it's probably a lot of money. If we're doing just like off camera,
just hanging out.
Yeah, just a couple of friends, bro.
If I know no one's got a phone out, it's not going to follow me around. $3,500.
$3,500? I would do it for $400. I wouldn't even care.
Pat, you're giving our guest heartburn with your question. Did you see how he answered it? He started getting heartburn for a second. God. He was like, "How the fuck did I get to this podcast?" Like,
no, I mean, I think it's I think all those sorts of questions are always relative. I'm thinking a stick of butter. It's not really gonna hurt, right? It's gonna melt and like shape to your butt, right?
Yeah, you just gotta suck it in, just for
not a huge deal. But it's more of like an embarrassment factor of like if people are taking pictures of you, then they can use that against you in some way, right? Or it could hurt your career in some way. So that would be more money for me.
The only way that I'm getting butter put in my butt is if there's photographic records for me to talk about it on the podcast for the rest of forever. I want it to follow me, kind of, sort of. Like, what's it going to fuck up my job as a cook? Like, as long as you're not visibly on heroin and you can show up to work on time, they're like, you can be a cook.
I can't imagine it hurting your career. Like, you're not hurting anybody. You're just shoving a stick of butter up your ass.
I told a story where I snorted coke off an AR-15 on this podcast one time. You talking about stories about blowing up dynamite in the middle of the streets. Luke's talking about casually abusing psychedelics like every fucking podcast. Like, what's it going to ruin for me? There's a picture of me getting a stick of butter slapped up my butthole. I mean, maybe Matt here with his prestigious The Hard Times and whatnot.
I bet people would be like all about it. Like if The Hard Times posted and it was a picture of you like, squatted over, raptoring it and just like putting the butter up there. I bet like not like physically seeing it, but you're down there and you're putting it up. People would be like, go Matt.
Hold on, wait.
If I was doing just The Hard Times, then it would be less of an issue. But I do other things as well in circles where it's not always like the comedic effect isn't always that highly valued. Not that I'm saying shoving a stick of butter up your ass is that funny anyways. I'm not even sure Hard Times people would like that. But if I was just doing Hard Times, I would feel more free to have photographic evidence of me doing debaucherous stuff.
Do you have other shit that you're getting into that you can talk about on the episode? Like, what else?
Yeah, sure.
What do y'all?
Please
What
segue.
other? We were talking about the South Side, like what direction do we want to take this into on the second half of the podcast. But besides the Hard Times, Hard Drive, any of your other like creative platforms, what are you doing right now?
All right. So I started as a journalist, right? And I was a freelance journalist at a lot of different places. And I noticed when I was invoicing people, the systems that they were using to handle those invoices was really shitty. I then became an editor where I had to process invoices for these freelance journalists and photographers, and our system was really shitty. Then I became a publisher, and I wanted to make sure I didn't have a shitty system. So I looked around and I said, what can work here, you know? And there was really shitty options. So I really felt like I needed to fix that problem. There's no good solution, and I wanted to be the guy who was going to fix it. I teamed up with a friend of mine who's a coder, and we started a tech company. It's called Outvoice. What it does is it integrates right into the WordPress or any other CMS. And instead of having a publish button on your content, you have a publish and pay button. You select your writers and photographers, you type in the amount of money that you agree to pay them, you hit publish and pay, and all the rest of it is taken care of. So in short, it takes a whole lot of time, money, and pain out of the whole process of paying freelance contributors, which Hard Times has a bunch of. So when someone writes a joke for Hard Times, they're actually paid faster and in a better way than someone who writes for New York Times.
Dude, that's awesome. That's so dope that you're like getting behind making sure that the people that are distributing your dope ass content are getting paid quickly and efficiently, and you're coming up with a better system for the rest of the world to do the same thing with other creative people, because a lot of people get fucked in a creative world. The fact that you're like figuring out a system for your writers to get paid faster than people that are on one of the most, I mean, you're like, I don't want to undersell it. I love the Hard Times, but I mean, it's a goofy satire site. Like, you're making jokes and stuff like that, and you're paying people faster than one of the most acclaimed, like one of the most prestigious organizations for journalism that you could figure out. That's amazing, man. I'm not just sucking your dick here. Like, I'm really happy.
He's totally
about
sucking your dick.
I mean, I'll put it. If you were in the room, I'd put the tip in my mouth. I wouldn't like it. I'm not gay. I support gay rights, but I mean, just for the podcast, one lick on the pee hole. Just, I mean, if you'd get rock hard, that's fine. I mean, whatever. But no, seriously, I really respect that you're.
Thanks.
The content creators are what make this a whole thing. Like the whole reason that you can have a company is the people that are behind you that are writing cool articles and stuff like that. And the fact that you're figuring out a more efficient way for them to get paid, and for everybody that's doing a creative thing on this project to get paid, that's a fucking phenomenal thing, man.
It's admirable.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I'm glad that you're into it. It's an exciting project I've been working on, and I'm not so sure the people who I'm going to go try to raise money from want to see me slamming sticks of butter up my ass.
No shit.
Hey, you won't know unless you ask.
It'd be like Elon Musk smoking weed on Rogan. Like, maybe the first day everybody will be like, "Oh, I'm backing out," and then like 8 million other people will be like, "This dude's dope. He's putting whole sticks of butter."
What a man!
Salted butter. That's got to itch a little bit.
Said that sentence. This dude's dope, man. This guy slams butter in his ass.
He slams butter right up his beehole.
Super relatable. He's like a down to earth guy.
People would be into it.
In his ass.
People would totally support you. They'd be like, "Go, Matt. Go, Matt."
Maybe
I'll donate.
So check it out. So we're on a couple different websites, and we have some really interesting clients who want to jump on board. And then after that, we're gonna go try to raise some money. I live in the Bay Area, so there's people around here who try to, venture capitalists and such. Maybe after I do all that stuff, I come back on the podcast. You guys warm up that butter for me. And we see what's going on.
Sounds good, man. We get a nice warm fondue pod.
It sounds like a friggin' plan, man.
Yeah.
Matt, I just want to say on behalf of all of us and our listeners, thank you so much for coming on our podcast. Like, it's really, really cool to talk to the founder of the Hard Times. Like,
super cool.
I feel like a lot of our listeners will really enjoy this podcast because
we see you on our stuff all the time, not just on our pages, but in our group page.
Like,
guys,
all of us were. Sorry,
it's cool to talk to you guys, man. I like talking to creative people. I'm super stoked that you had me on.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. Keep fucking rocking and rolling. You're awesome. Thank you for being so talkative too and so cool.
We'll for sure be plugging all the links to Hard Drive and the Hard Times along with your episode when it drops this coming Sunday.
Yeah, man, tag me and I'll try to share them.
Sweet, dude.
Listeners of the Bastard Sermon, check out thehardtimes.net, where you can also find Hard Drive. If you look it up, harddrive.net. That way you can see the video game side of this satirical news website. check out everything that he's doing. He's got a super dope podcast where he's got good musicians on. Maybe it's not going to be the same vibe as the articles that you're reading on the hardtimes.net, but you're going to get like the dude that's writing those articles. So if you enjoy that humor, I'm sure that you're going to come from a mindset where you're going to enjoy that podcast a lot. Yeah. And those guests are phenomenal. Check his podcast out, absolutely. As always, check out our sponsor, Kneel to No One, Anthony Take Mansfield. Listen to his previous episodes when he was on the podcast. And thank you so much for supporting the Bastard Sermon. Any other announcement, boys, before we turn this shit off?
No. Go check out Black Collar TV's new merch site. They just dropped some amazing, cool new shirts. They look fantastic. BCTV. It'll blow your brain. That's what it says. It's fantastic. Be sure to check out other shows from the Bastard Network. EFB. He's just dropped an amazing episode. We'll see you guys next week.
Fuck yeah.
Peace bitches.
Bye.